Hi, thank you for joining me today. I'm Corinne A, a Technology to Market Project Manager at the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, also known as NYSERDA. NYSERDA's Tech to Market team supports technological and other innovative initiatives to accelerate decarbonization in New York State and meet Governor Cuomo's nation-leading climate and clean energy goals under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, or the CLCPA, by catalyzing product development and deployment into our energy systems and infrastructure. We currently support 6 clean energy incubators, which offer commercialization resources, technical assistance, and business development support to early-stage companies, an entrepreneurs in residence program to provide executive mentoring and grant writing assistance, and manufacturing support for product scale-up. We also support 2 statewide accelerators that provide mentoring and advisory networks for new or growth stage startups to help get their products into the New York marketplace, one of which we'll be discussing here today. And I am pleased that Jaqueline Ros Amable, the Managing Director of NextCore's Venture for Climate Tech, is joining me to tell us more about this new global nonprofit venture studio plus accelerator that provides innovators with non-dilutive funding, as well as the tools, training, and talent to launch a company. Jackie, thank you for joining me today to tell me about your newest adventure. So to start, tell me a little bit about yourself. What attracted you to the job with Venture for Climate Tech?
Absolutely. Hi, Corinne. Thank you for having me. Really excited to get to chat about Venture for Climate Tech. That's a hard question because I think everything about the program was really exciting for me. To give a bit of background, I started my career in technology. I was the CEO and founder of a company called Revelar, which was an ode to survivors of sexual violence, like my little sister who inspired our technology. Essentially, it was a tiny device that you could hide and press for help. During my 6 years as CEO of Revelar, I kept running across research that talked about how do you keep communities safe. I would attend future city events and try to figure out how can our technology do a better job at keeping the people we care about most secure. And it was during my time researching this that I realized that we actually were not going to be able to keep our community safe unless we solved for the climate crisis. The amount of refugees that would be created that are already being created due to the climate crisis. My family were political refugees, so I could only imagine what that was going to feel like and mean for billions of people. And so as I started to dive deeper into that problem, I realized this is where I wanted to spend the rest of my life's work. It was also at that time that I got to know NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And my friends there kept saying, you have the perfect skill set to help commercialize these technologies. We need people like you to come work with us and help. And I was really excited. I was like, okay, you see something that, a skill set that I have that can be useful. I mean, I understand that now, right? From the hardware pieces to how do you access funding? How do you take that to the next level? And so it was in 2017, I brought on a new CEO to run Revelar. And in an interview with Forbes, I said quite literally that if I weren't doing what I was doing, I'd be in the sustainability space. And so we ended up selling the business later in 2017, lots of lessons learned there. And I took a job with Techstars, one of my former investors, and managed the Americas for them from Canada through Argentina. There I got to meet thousands of different ecosystems, understand what they were doing and how they were thinking about these problems. We ran global startup weekends on the topic of sustainability that spanned 46 countries. I saw this wave coming. And during that time, I also was mentoring for the Techstars sustainability programs and got to intimately understand the challenges these founders face in the early days, which weren't so different from my challenges as an underrepresented founder. So when I saw what NYSERDA was doing, I saw what Second Muse and NextCore were doing, I knew there was something unique. I knew there was something different. There was a clear gap that had been identified for these founders and that this program could fill. So really excited to be here. The way the program works is that Venture for Climate Tech is a 6-month part-time program that provides founders with the tools and talent necessary to launch their venture. As you mentioned, we provide non-dilutive funding in different phases. The first phase is really focused on understanding their customer, making sure that they're solving the problem they think they're solving, and meeting mentors from around the world. The second phase focuses on grant writing support, as well as go-to-market strategy. We have a go-to-market specialist on our team to support them on how do you do public-private partnerships? What does that mean to go to market with a product that has multiple implications? And how do you talk to investors when your technology is related to the climate tech space? And in that phase, we open up $25,000 in non-dilutive funding for team, and a pool of $100,000 of non-dilutive funding opens up. So let's say that they have a patent application coming up, they can apply to use some of those funds towards their patent application. But the reason we structured it this way is that we saw that sort of traditional grants, which are amazing for research and development, sometimes we're limiting in the business building activities. So we wanted to provide that non-dilutive funding that would fill in for maybe a friends and family round that a founder would not have access to otherwise. In the third phase, we help them start pitching. The coaching gets significantly differentiated to make sure that they are set up for success on their next steps. And then by the end of the program, a pool of $250,000 opens up, which happens right after our investor boot camp. Hardware companies can access up to 100,000 of that, software companies up to 50,000 of that. That is a first come, first serve, but it requires a 2-to-1 investor match. And we're hoping that really helps founders put a little fire under investors to close the deals faster. So we're really excited. Our applications close on March 12th, and we'll be announcing on Earth Day at NREL's Industry Growth Forum.
Oh man, that is so exciting, and your story is a true inspiration and shows what you can accomplish with passion, grit, and the right support. So ramping up innovative technologies is central to meeting New York State's climate and clean energy goals under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. What are your experiences as an entrepreneur that can help companies who are looking to ramp up their climate impact and help our state lower emissions?
Getting a business off the ground is, I liken it very much to child development, right? There's phases, there's stages. And at the stage that we're serving, I joke, it's kind of the ugly baby phase, right? There's a lot to be figured out. There's a lot to get sorted out. It's also a really fun phase. But some of the challenges they're going to face, right, is not all of them will be hardware founders, but many of them will be. So that, I always say there's the chicken and egg challenges with hardware companies. How do I pay for these things when I have to, in order to get customers? And how do you get customers if you can't build these things? And so these are challenges we can help them overcome. Also recruiting, right? So as I spent hours upon hours mentoring founders in this space, I kept running across the same issues. They didn't know how to recruit talent at that phase. They didn't know what talent was appropriate. It can be really easy to think, oh, I need somebody that has this big name and all this corporate experience. But actually, it's about having the right team at the right phase. And so my experiences really taught me, what does that mean at what stage? And so a huge part of our curriculum will be around, how do you identify that talent? How do you attract that talent now that you've identified them? And how can you sort of close them into your team? And so what does that mean to recruit talent when all you really have is equity to offer? How do you get somebody on your team so that when you're presenting to investors, you show that robust team? As well as when I was a founder, we were able to access grants, grants from the state of Colorado, grants from other places. And so I truly understood as a founder, what it means to be able to leverage public-private partnerships, to be able to take a product to market. And I'm really excited to bring those experiences to founders. And probably one of the things that I learned, and actually wrote a blog about this that I shared when I first joined this role, was when I was a founder, I didn't know how to think about my competition. If it's a first-time founder, you tend to think, oh, competition's so scary. I'm just going to watch everything they do online, but never actually communicate with them. And or how do I talk to this person? And actually, your competition should be your collaborators, especially in the climate space. I say it's either going to be we all win or we all lose when it comes to this crisis. And these are the people that can end up becoming you can end up merging, you can end up working together, you can end up having more complementary technologies than you think. But I'm really excited to get to work with our founders and show them the power of the ecosystem, the power of having a strong network of mentors, and also how to leverage that network.
Absolutely. Those are great insights. Can you walk us through Venture for Climate Tech? How can the program help startups, and what are the unique advantages of the program?
Venture for Climate Tech was structured, and this is why we think it's really unique, to be as founder-friendly as possible so that you can actually launch your climate innovation. And what we mean by that is that we understand that at these early stages, founders are balancing many things in their lives. For some of them, that might mean that they still have to work in a lab a little bit in order to get their technology out of it. Or like myself, I had to work multiple jobs to bootstrap my company for a few years. It wasn't realistic for me to do it full time because I still had to pay my rent. I still had to be able to buy groceries. And so you have to get your business to a certain point. And there's a lot of misconception, right? People tell me, do I just need to quit my job? And I'm like, no, please do not. Like, think it through, have savings, be ready, or have some funding in the door so you can do it full time. And so our program is part-time and stretched out to be founder friendly. It offers that non-dilutive funding to help de-risk your climate innovation, as well as helps prepare you on how to frame it, right? I meet so many great founders with impactful technology, and it takes me, a few coaching sessions to really understand how I can help them frame the power of what they're building. And so we're excited to get to meet our founders, beyond, the mentors and the fact that it's connected with so many incredible global partners. We do think that what stands out is that founder first, founder friendly mentality of this program. And we're hoping that that really resonates with people trying to launch their climate tech innovations.
Yeah, that sounds so exciting. And this innovative model is why NYSERDA is thrilled to support Venture for Climate Tech to help advance these clean energy innovations and investments that will combat climate change. As Venture for Climate Tech is our top of funnel program, or the first entry point for sourcing and growing new climate tech companies here in New York State, what excites you most about this initiative?
I think that one of the things that excites me most about the Venture for Climate Tech initiative, beyond getting to meet our founders, which I'm dying to do, like I feel like I've been in, prepping for them for what feels like forever, but it's the fact that we are recruiting globally and that we've made this program virtual, that we've made it so accessible. And there have been people that have been surprised. They're like, why are you looking for founders here? You're New York State. And I was like, yes, but it's a global climate crisis. It's not a New York State climate crisis. It's not a New York City climate crisis. It's a global climate crisis. And it's going to require a massive collaboration and transparency. And I think that by opening the door to learning from founders from around the world and bringing those technologies to New York State so that we can help implement them, that's something I'm really excited about. But when I think about why New York State, why is this the right place to do this? It comes back to the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that you mentioned. New York State has a significant advantage for climate tech founders, right? We've created a market. We've essentially said this matters. We've created a market for climate innovation, and now we're going to support it. And so for me, that mix of public, private, startup, global support is what's going to make all the difference. And so I can't wait to see what comes out of this. And we truly view it as a privilege and an honor to get to help New York State think through, these are the technologies we're investing in today that we believe will have that impact on our climate in 10 years.
Absolutely. We are so glad that you are fighting this fight with us. And knowing that Venture for Climate Tech's vision is to build a global community resulting in a brighter, more sustainable future for all, and that is Women's History Month. How would you say your experience as a female founder in tech has shaped your vision for building this global movement of inclusion and diversity when it comes to founders building climate technologies?
My team used to joke that I could check every diversity box that existed, right? Latina, woman, you name it. And what makes you different makes you stronger, but it also, I came from a background that was so different that as a first-time founder, I really had to learn how to build bridges across communities. My co-founder and I, through our process of building Revelar, became some of the first Latinas ever to raise millions from investors. We got to work with incredible investors such as Foundry Group, who are actually on the Venture for Climate Tech board today. And so even though I was very different from others when building my business, I think that New York State is a really diverse state. And so I'm excited that our team, I believe, reflects New York State, the team that is behind Venture for Climate Tech. But one of the things that I'm bringing with me is this ability to build bridges into new communities and into new cultures. I mean, I think that's something that women and female founders do exceptionally well because they have to, right? And then sometimes it's a bummer that that's a burden, but it's also a blessing, right? So I've gotten to build inroads into communities that people are surprised by at times, but it's that bridge building that is so powerful. It's that mass collaboration that we were just talking about and what we're going to need to solve for this. And so those are part of the pieces that I'm going to bring with me. And also as having experienced what I experienced at growing my business, you never forget the things that you did wrong. And that helps you really understand how to help people avoid those same pitfalls. But I think it's going to take a village, and I think that female founders have that advantage in knowing how to build that community around themselves.
Absolutely. I think that is beautiful how you just put that. And it has been wonderful to see that we have more opportunities for women and diverse leaders in climate tech, even in just the last few years. Given that this month is Women's History Month, my question is, how do we continue to provide a pathway for more women to join the climate and clean energy innovation space?
When I think about creating pathways, I think about lowering barriers of entry, right? You can't create a pathway that has a bunch of blocks in the way. That doesn't make sense. And to go back to how we structured this program, virtual, part-time, meeting founders where they are, spending time with them pre and post meeting investors, right? A lot of traditional programs, demo day comes and they're like, great, you're done, congrats. Now go figure out the rest, right? And we intentionally made our program the length of time we did because we wanted to make sure that after we made these introductions, we were there to help them navigate them and not leave them feeling like, wait, what comes next? How do I get to that next step? And so we structured the program to be founder friendly, but really to be in many ways underrepresented founder friendly, to think through what were the experiences that would have hindered myself, right? Myself as a former Latina founder, our program manager who was first generation to go to college in her family. She had a managing director when she was launching her business that even helped cover her rent because otherwise she could never have done that program, right? And so, and then, we have Shanta Harris on our team who is the co-founder of the Women of Color Collective and Sustainability, also known as Woke Sis. And so we not only, again, built that team with intentionality, but built it around the experiences of how do we make sure that this program is an open door to those who want to be in this space. And so it takes a lot of intentionality and it takes a lot of work. And in many ways, we're thinking through how are we building a program that also can help launch the next generation of female leaders in this space, of Women-X leaders in this space. And so those are things that we get really excited about and things that we'll continue to learn. It's year one. I have no doubt, and I already know some things that we'll do differently next time. So we'll continue to learn through this process, but we're always open to that feedback and really excited to meet our founders.
Yeah, I am very excited about the team that is being built to support this broad coalition of founders. But Jackie, thank you for joining me today. As always, it's been a joy to speak with you. And my last question is, how can climate tech startups find out more about the program?
If you want to learn more about Venture for Climate Tech, go check out forclimatetech.org. You can see it under the Venture tab. You can see some of our previous recordings of our webinars, our FAQs. I also recommend checking out our sibling program, Scale for Climate Tech. If you're later stage and you're like, I wish I'd known about Venture for Climate Tech, but I'm actually later stage at this point. But you have hardware, Scale for Climate Tech helps you go from prototype to mass production. So anything you want to learn about the For Climate Tech global community, you can find on forclimatetech.org.
And that's right. Thank you for joining Jaqueline Ros Amable, the Managing Director of Venture for Climate Tech, a new initiative and movement to nurture the best climate tech innovators that will ultimately grow and scale their companies right here within New York State.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.